Welcome back to One Piece Anime. This is episode number 24. This I'm reviewing the 800th and 11th episode of the One Piece anime series. And the name of this episode is... I'll wait here! Luffy versus the Enraged Army. Yeah, like the thing is, like the title says, Luffy versus the Enraged Army. That's what pretty much he does almost this entire episode. Now, this episode is adapted from pages 2 through 11 of chapter 846. Yeah, so like with the previous two episodes, we're taking two episodes just to adapt one chapter, with the exception of the cover story, which is a bit odd, to say the least. Yeah, I'm not really sure why the anime is doing this now, where they just do just 10 pages and that's it. Previously, in previous episodes, they had, with the exception of the episodes that came before, the hour-long episode, which featured Luffy versus Sanji, they were just having where it starts out with 6 pages of one chapter and 10 pages of the next chapter. Now they're just doing just 10 pages and adapting 10 pages in one episode, and the following one just adapting 6. I don't really get why the anime is doing this, but it is. See a little bit of Sanji, basically making a deal with Big Mom. Says like he'll marry Pudding if they leave the Straw Hats alone. She agrees if he stops running away. Fine. Chopper and Carrot, you can't see them, and basically they're still in Mirror World. They fight, well, one of Big Mom's daughters, the one who has bearing a striker resemblance to Caesar. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow in the future, basically, in order, Big Mom would basically arrange a marriage between Caesar and this woman, because, well, it would work because they look almost exactly alike. Though the woman looks like she's a bit older than Caesar. I've never figured out exactly how old Caesar's supposed to be, but I could find out later on. Yep. But Luffy fights them throughout the whole episode. The big tree that Nami had been standing on the whole past few episodes. Yeah, the tree gets sliced in half by one of Big Mom's other daughters. I don't remember her name. Like she has like grayish skin. I kind of thought she was one with the similar nose that Caesar Clown has, but she's got grayish skin, wears this big hat and this long dress, and she has this sort of famous sword with a fish at the tip of the handle, and slices the tree in half. And then later on, she takes Nami, and well, after Nami basically has sort of been taken off the tree by another one of Big Mom's daughters, the one who kind of looks like Sanji's sister. Yeah, it's just me, or some of these characters look most exactly like this woman who basically looks like an older version of Sanji's sister. Look like she's about 5 or 6 years older and taller than Sanji's sister. Yep. Oh, and because they kind of figured out exactly like how Nami was controlling the homies in the tree and how the Chetos were. Basically, what this woman does is just she basically does something that's probably quite odd for her to do. Well, basically because of her slicing thing. She basically takes her hand, rips the front of Nami's dress that she's wearing, takes out Lola's Viva card. And yeah, that's basically the Big Mom Viva card she got from Lola. And that's how they find out. But it just... I'm not really sure exactly why they did it for. So basically, for the second time, Nami's clothes get torn in the process of the past 3 episodes. First, her sleeve got torn off, exposing off her tattoo. Now they basically ripped the middle of her dress just so they get the Viva card. Because the Viva card was basically kept in her chest for 2 years. I'm not kidding. They kept it in her. I'm like, okay. So, Nami, it's shown Nami take a couple showers since then, on screen. And yet the Viva card didn't fall off her chest the whole time. Yeah, she kept it in her chest for 2 years. She must have taken it out at some point, just set it aside. But she kept it all this time. Which is a bit odd. Yeah, to say the least. But they eventually take Luffy away from the area. And I remember from another chapter, Luffy does stay in the area basically by himself and Sanji needs some food. I think they escape a little bit later and Sanji and Luffy goes back to that area. But they're taken away. The next episode showing up being the cell, which I do remember this from the manga. And we finally get a chance to see Brook and Pedro for the first time in a few episodes. Yeah, it's been a while. Let's see. I think the last time they were seen was back in... Let's see. It's been a while. trying to see here because it seems like it's been a while. Uh, it. Let's see. Here we go. Uh, First time since episode 795. Yeah, so basically, next episode for the first time in 17 episodes that Brooke and Pedro have been seen. Yeah, they've been absent for a while, and finally they're going to make a return. Though I think in the manga it's probably less than 17 chapters. Yeah, that's what he looks for next week's episode. But this was actually a really good episode, and a chance to see one of the other son's powers, basically. Sort of like a mind trick, basically tricking Luffy. He's in the world of books, and Luffy gets beaten. Yep, he gets beaten. One of the rare times he gets defeated in combat. And that's the episode. Next episode is Invading the Chateau, Reach the Road Poneglyph, which basically, that episode features return of Brooke and Pedro. Good episode nonetheless. Now on to One Piece Chapter 883. This one is basically the whole chapter is Luffy versus Katakura, I think his name is. Basically the guy he's been fighting for the past several chapters. And finally, we have an entire chapter of him fighting him in Mirror World. And at one point he gets buried by this mush stuff. And basically he goes off because he missed his snack time by 40 minutes. So he goes to the shrine to go eat. And Luffy just eats it up and then basically burns up all the fat just by running running back and forth a couple times. And it turns out the reason why that the guy basically has this scarf cover up his mouth is because he's got these like giant fangs and he's got like stitches basically with this thing. Yeah, that's revealed in this chapter. And Luffy goes to fourth gear twice in this entire chapter, because in the last chapter, basically, Katakura basically was interested in seeing Luffy's fourth gear, and Luffy goes to a thing twice in one chapter, which is a bit unusual because usually after going through fourth gear for a little while, it basically blows out. My guess is he's probably got the energy back, probably eating after all that mush stuff that buried him. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting chapter. Though this is actually the first chapter, probably in a while, not feature any of the Straw Hats. Basically, the whole chapter is set in Mirror World. Yeah. I'll also for the episode, well, I kind of thinking that I know that Chopper and Carrot get out of Mirror World eventually. Just that I think it takes a little while for them to do that, but before they do, yeah. Also, in next week's episode, it looks like that Nami and Luffy are gonna be trapped in that cell. Luffy gets his hands like nailed to a wall here like this, so Luffy can't go anyplace. But yeah, I think they remained in the cell. I remember in the manga they were there for about a few chapters and then they got out. Yep. But pretty good nonetheless, basically. Good chapter for the manga. Great advance of the plot. Finally, a full chapter dedicated to the fight between Luffy and Katakura. Yep. And, of course, this episode advanced the plot a little bit. It kind of wrapped up the big fight between Luffy and the army, which has been going on at this point for 3 episodes. So they finally wrapped that up. I think in the manga this only took about 2 chapters, I think, basically, but yeah. I still think this is a little odd for the anime to do this, for just doing 10 pages in one episode and then adapting 6 pages next episode. Yeah, for chapters that are 17 pages long, I was kind of thinking maybe they would adapt the whole chapter, but nope, apparently they're just adapting like half of the chapter in one episode and the remaining pages next episode. That's the way it looks here. So, yeah, that's really it. Not a lot of really... well, Chopper, during the episode, goes to his big human form in this episode. Yeah, first time... probably in a while he's done that, but yeah. So, that's it. Stay tuned for next week's episode, which is episode 812, which is Invading the Chateau, Road to Reach the Road Poneglyph, which is going to be this coming weekend. Let's see. I believe 884 probably come out later on this week now. I did check the release date for 883. It looks like it comes out now on Fridays now. Yeah. So, yeah, it comes out Fridays now, which, okay, that kind of explains why it kind of felt like it's coming a little bit late. I was kind of expecting Thursday, but I think now they're releasing the chapters now on Fridays. But the chapters are still really good. I've heard things that this arc is going to last for a handful more chapters, but I think they might wrap up this arc, and this is just a theory. They might wrap up this arc probably by chapter 900, which probably, and I've checked it basically. If you count the weeks in, the week breaks basically after like 3 or 4 chapters. My personal guess is that the One Piece manga will hit chapter 900 this coming February. That's when it will hit it. But 883 chapters is actually still pretty good for manga. Though it's the longest manga I've ever actually read. That I've actually caught up with. I would say I'm still working on JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, which I'm soon gonna finish up part 1 of the manga really soon. Okay, so I'll see you all for the next episode, 812, Evading the Chateau. Reach the road poneglyph, the big red poneglyph they introduced in the previous arc. Okay, but until then, I will see you there. Bye.